live right now? Everything says 6:59. I got 7. You everybody ready? I'd like to call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Here.
Udis.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Stefani.
Here.
Curran.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everybody could remain standing for just a moment. Sorry. On December 8th, Mayor Jerry Scott passed away. Mayor Scott was the mayor for 5 terms in Oglesby, 20 years. We have records that go all the way back to 1902, and there's nobody that has been the mayor that long in the city's history. So obviously when you have 20 years as mayor, there's a lot of different accomplishments and a lot of things that have happened. And it's very hard to summarize all that. For example, in 1987, the Illinois I-39 came through here. There was an incredible amount of development on the west side of the city, whether it's through Advantage Logistics, the Cedar Creek subdivision. There's so many other things that he's expanded the borders on our city, whether it's Heritage Fields added to it, wire mesh. There's just an incredible amount of things that we have going on here. He also, not only just the expansion of the city borders, but he also increased a lot of the city infrastructure we have. The new fire station that we have today, in fact, this building that we're in right now today, it was done under his leadership that he's had. Not only just the expansion of things that we've had in the city, but we've had a lot of recognition. Matter of fact, during his 20 years, we've been recognized 4 times for the Governor's Award. I think 2 second-place ones and 2 first-place ones, ranging from 3 decades. In the 80s, there was something with Oglesby volunteerism. In the 90s, we had a recognition for the monuments at the Memorial Park. And in the 2000s, there was a book that was created, the Oglesby Hometown, our hometown history book. So a lot of recognition, a lot of things. So while we grieve his loss, you know, and could give condolences to the family, we can rejoice in knowing that the 20 years that his leadership, there's been an incredible amount of things that we still see standing today. So for that, if I could ask everybody to join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. All right. Number 5, public comment on agenda items only. I tap it and see if it's on. There, it's on the underside.
Thank you. I rise to address a couple issues that are on the agenda. First one is number 10, the IMEA Solar Farm Letter of Support. Please support this. It might keep the city in light someday. The grid is fractured. We can't keep closing baseload plants, and we need all we can get. Second item that I would like to address is City Hall renovation. The mayor's office needs to remain where it is. Don't move it. More than half the residents of this town are over 50. It's tough enough just to walk in here and need to do business. We don't need to move it. And I would strongly urge and suggest that the money you would spend on the renovation of the mayor's office, you take it and put Malik Sub back to where it's supposed to be. These people were out for 18 hours last time, 18 to 20 hours. You can't have that again. And the last thing I'd like to address is a memorandum of understanding, maternity leave, and light duty. Being that this council doesn't want accurate minutes or transparent minutes, there's a lot of questions that I have, and I'm not opposed to this at all. But basically, is this benefit going to be covered by FMLA? What is the cost of this benefit? Who and what will qualify for light duty? So the cost of the benefits, is there a limit on the paid leave time? And would this apply to the spouses? I would strongly urge that you give us the answers. Thank you.
I'd be happy to give him an answer. I'm going to actually share it on the screen here. Okay, Robert's Rules of Order. Isn't it necessary to summarize matters discussed at a meeting in the minutes of that meeting in order for the minutes to be complete? Right down there at the bottom is your actual, where it appears in the book. Not only is it not necessary to summarize matters discussed at a meeting in the minutes of that meeting, it is improper to do so. Minutes are a record of what was done at the meeting, not a record of what was said. And I'd just like to say that all this came about because nobody was looking to try and have some sort of narrative that benefits one person or the other. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
I wasn't sure you were gonna bring that up. You wouldn't happen to have the Open Meetings Act.
It says nearly the same identical thing.
There is something that says a little different in the Open
It
Meetings
says
Act.
do not use any,
That's what it says, so
Well,
if we're going to
Quotes.
follow Robert's Rules of
it
Order.
clearly
then
says
there
do
you
not
go.
use quotes.
okay, you can bring that up later. Please.
Greg Stein. On your agenda tonight, you're gonna talk about the remodeling the walls here and throwing stuff to see what sticks. Tom Collins wrote in his newsletter, rehabbing Old Lee City Hall could improve the decorum. I have looked around in here, and I just noticed tonight some blue duct tape lines inside this office over here. Don't understand what that is, but maybe it's to expand Becky's office over there. I'm gonna have to run around a bunch, so I'll try to talk loud. I think that what we could do is realign this wall here with that wall, bring these walls out to here, bring Becky's desk and put it over here, and fabricated this little thing that would fit between the desks like that, and you could crunch this circle, so you're a little bit tighter circling that so spread out, and get it within this wall. You could put a new countertop on it if you don't like that, but then if you did that, if you were doing projects like the banners that hang up and down the street, then these desks wouldn't be floatable. I kinda think that wall there that blocks the stairwell in the foyer would be another place to bring a wall out here, move all these chairs kind of in a triangle manner back here. If, you would need, so that this desk here, these desks, would have a second opening around the back side. You probably would put the boardroom for closed session minutes that need to be silent to anybody sitting out here. Have doors here so that you could go through the boardroom and then put a little mayor's office back there. And then walk through the boardroom to get to these desks here. If there's a huge crowd and they can't see what's going on over here because of this new wall, then you could put a second monitor over here and run your TV camera to the monitor so they can see what's going on from that corner of the room over there. And as I looked on Google, a real quick look through today for elevators. I think, we're a big enough city to think about an elevator to get the whole downstairs, instead of the concept of going to Dickinson House. And maybe this room over here that says employees only could be the elevator drop to the basement. They make them about $5,000 for a home, and I reckon that it would at least be $50,000 for an office of this magnitude. And then I noticed the blue lines on the floor in there. I think Becky does need a larger office. The whole concept of shrinking this here and getting that desk moved over here, I hate how we can't get to see her on the TV camera right now. I think that's about it. Any
Okay.
questions?
I just want to respect, since you asked a direct question, the blue lines that you see in there were there was one of the proposal ideas to look at out there, and the other one you're talking about here, we're expanding, putting the mayor's office into the corner and expanding out. That is another suggestion that was being looked at as well. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on agenda items only?
I have something, Mayor, no other public comments. I would like to see us switch the agenda a little bit. I want to talk about number 13 before we talk about number 12, because they interrelate, and the reason for number 12 is a result of number 13. So I think it's going to confuse people if we leave it the way it is. I will make that in the form of a motion.
Well,
Second.
hold on, before we make a motion, give everybody a chance to talk about it. You know, when we get to those, I was gonna recommend that we can talk about both of those in closed session. Whether or not the council wants to do that's one thing, but I actually think just the opposite. One of my reasons for the personnel policy to be in closed session is because it contains elements of that FOP memorandum. So that's why I think the order should be that way yet, but I mean, if the rest of the council wants to talk about the other way, I don't have a problem with that either.
That's my motion.
Okay, and there's a second? Can I get a roll call on that?
I'm sorry, could I get the motion?
Number 13 in front of number 12.
And that's it, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
I understand he's wanting number 18, not 13.
No.
Want number 13 moved above number 12. Switch them around.
All right, I thought. Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Okay, rotate. So before I move on, I don't think there was any more public comments. Okay. Moving on. Number 6, approve minutes from December 4th, 2023 City Council meeting. Anybody have any additions, modifications, or concerns? If not, if I can get a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 7, approve bills as presented for payment in the amount of $1,320,832.05. Any questions, concerns? If not, if I can get a motion to approve, please.
I'd like to just explain a little bit of that. We had 2 IMEA payments, and we had our annual renewal for our insurance, so that's why the bills are in that amount. I know last meeting compared to this meeting, that's a drastic jump, but that's the reason why. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 8, approve December 8th, 2023 payroll in the amount of $92,492.85. Any questions, concerns, or can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Curran.
Aye. Number 9, approve purchase of new dump truck for street department. Commissioner McDermott, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah. Guys, just to let you know, we currently have a dump truck right now that's being worked on, okay? You'll see, I gave you a sheet, tells you the age of the trucks, okay? What we're looking at doing, there comes a time when you gotta decide whether it's feasible to keep repairing a truck or buying a new one. The request is that we buy a new one and, put it in a rotation, and we'll do that. Is there any questions, or, that's what I'm looking for.
What's the expected timeline to get the truck, and then
Uh,
what's the expected age of the truck? How many years you figure you guys are getting out of them?
Well, you can see here, we got one that's 32 years old, we got one that's 27, another one that's 23, and 14, and 10. We try to get as much use out of them as we can, but let's face it, you're using these trucks almost daily, every day. Street department, I understand, we don't get a lot of money out of it, but we're utilizing it for other departments, like we go out, the street department will go out for like the water department, the electric, will help the ambulance, fire, police department, and everything else. So it's constant, and during the snow and rebuilding the streets and everything, they're vital. But right now, we're just spending a lot of money keeping repairing these, and we gotta look at what's more cost effective.
Mac, do you think over time that the cost of the vehicle that we're looking at is gonna offset what we're paying in repairs?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
from a money
Oh,
standpoint?
yeah, I've already looked at that and checkpointed everything, and
Okay.
it just gets to the point where we gotta make a decision whether we wanna buy a new truck or keep putting good money into.
Yeah.
I will say that Commissioner McDermott's done a lot of out-of-the-box thinking and looking for solutions here. One of the things that we were looking at is, you know, this is gonna replace the one we use the most, or the least right now, down at the wastewater treatment plant. The thing is, we were hoping to be able to get it replaced with the new wastewater treatment plant. Unfortunately, we are still about almost 5 years away from when that one will be operational. So, the good news is, one of the things that we've been looking at is we might not need to replace that. Once that's operational, we might be able to operate with one dump truck less. So, but we need it for now is the
Right.
concern. So the advantage of this is, once we get that one replaced, and the next one, when that falls out of rotation, that one might not need to be replaced. That's one of the other advantages of this. Anybody have anything else? Any comments,
Anybody got any
questions, concerns?
Questions?
No, I think you
Okay.
answered mine, so.
In that case, if someone wants to make a motion,
I'll make a motion that we, buy a new dump truck. Make it-
Second.
roll call, please.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Number 10, IMEA Solar Farm Letter of Support. Commissioner Baldridge, did you want to speak to this at all, or?
Yeah, due to talking to the IMEA president Thursday night, I suggest we table this item so that they can come and give, information to the full council to gain our support. At this point, I don't believe anybody on this council is aware of what this actually entails, and I don't feel that we'd be making a good decision for or against it without having any knowledge on it. So I ask that it be tabled.
Well, I did present we've had the last two administrations sign this letter of support. You know, unfortunately, the last company vendor, it fell through, otherwise we'd probably already have this thing built by now. We have our agreements kind of already done up. Obviously, if we do get this new one, which we're hoping is gonna come through, we'd have to sign some new agreements with that vendor. I did make a presentation to the council members, give them a slideshow thing, but I'm not opposed to, if you believe there's more information to be gained from that. I know the IMEA is very interested always to be able to come to the cities to be able to make presentations on stuff. So I do think we have enough information though, but if there's things that people want to get more information and feel more confident about, I have no problems with that whatsoever.
It's always a good thing to get clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think for
Especially
something of
when
this
you-
magnitude, I'd like to see somebody up at the podium going through the ins and outs, and, I mean, we know maybe a little bit about it, but they're obviously the experts. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but I think I'd feel a little bit better if I had the expert up there taking us through the ins and outs and giving us a presentation.
I'm always a fan of more information.
There you go,
Okay.
details.
Details. Okay, if we want to table it until we can get that, I'll take a motion to table.
Motion to table.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Good job.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Look forward to getting them here, and we'll talk with them. It's always great to talk with the IMEA. Number 11, raffle license application for LaSalle Peru Youth Football League. I'm not sure who put this, was this, from the clerk's office put this on, I think?
Probably.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's a good thing, obviously, anytime we can help out with, with the schools, obviously being able to make money. Anybody have any questions, concerns over this?
Nah, I think anytime we can support the kids like that, it's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
I'd
All right.
like to make a motion to accept the raffle license application from Peru, LaSalle Peru Youth Football League.
And I will definitely second that one.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
And we had the change here, moving to 13, which is the personnel policy. I do want to say, I believe there's elements of this, the same thing with number 12, that we could talk about in closed session. Would anybody be interested in doing that, or do they want to talk about it in the open?
Open.
Okay. In that case, number 13, personnel policy. I think, Commissioner Udis, it was your version that we sent off to the labor attorney. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, so we've changed it several times. We've been working on this since actually before our administration even began. And the two biggest areas of contention have been who's in charge of discipline and discharge of their departments, whether it's the mayor or whether it's a commissioner. And the other area that I know was one person had a problem with was the maternity leave article that was put into this personnel policy for all of our employees. What we found out from our labor attorney is that in order for the unions to get any of the benefits off of this policy, we would have to have a separate side letter of agreement with them, which is what you're gonna see attached together because they're both the same language. We did have our labor attorney look over this, and he kind of pushed it back onto our city attorney a little bit to see what his thoughts on it were and the legalities. So we really passed this previously, and it was just waiting, I think, Pat's review for the most part to push it forward.
And I've reviewed it so many times, I'm blue in the face. It's a difficult issue, because you have to construe statutes in addition to ordinances. But I think just before I came to the meeting and my 15th review of this issue, I've come to the conclusion that I think, section 4.5-6 controls, and it says, in municipalities which aren't part of these sections, all officers, assistants, and employees, except those appointed in sections 4-5-3 and 4-5-5, which are superintendents of departments, and subordinate heads, shall be appointed by the commissioner of the department to which they are appointed and may be discharged by him. So my conclusion is that the commissioner of the department, under this particular statute, has the authority to appoint and discharge subordinate employees.
I appreciate that assessment. Okay.
So with that, if there's no more discussion,
Terry, if I can
Yeah,
interrupt for 1
sure,
second.
sure.
I read the personnel policy and I read the memorandum of understanding, and there were some very slight word differences between the two. I don't know whether one was changed after another, but I just point that out for your consideration.
yeah, and when that does come forward, I am not opposed to sending that MOU to the labor attorney for review before we enact it. Especially, and if you're, in your professional opinion, you think there is a little bit of a language difference.
Yeah, and it's
Between the
just a
two.
word here and there, it's a pregnant before the word employee, or something that's different in one than the other. I notice we talk about employees, we talk about pregnant employees, we talk about female employees. It's like, how many different kinds of employees do we have here? But at any rate, that's my only concern.
That's why I wanted to talk about
They
this
should match.
first.
I
Yeah.
think they should match perfectly. And there's like 2 or 3 words is all. So
Okay.
I'd suggest somebody read them in conjunction with each other.
Well, I do appreciate that assessment. I'm not happy with that assessment, but if that is the legal assessment, that's the legal
We can
assessment.
get beyond this point.
Okay, so that's the one section there. There was a couple other things in there. I don't believe under the, one of the main reasons we're trying to do this right now, I believe, as we talked about, Commissioner Stefanelli, was, the accrued time for the part-time employees. And I don't think we have directly answered that there. Is it, I think I was talking with the clerk about that. Is that correct? That it doesn't really specify if it's accrued afterwards or beforehand?
Well, I spoke with Tony today, and he seemed to think that
It is?
it
Well,
is.
So the notes on the side that still had, Carl, our labor attorney, he says the same questions in there. How is the vacation and sick earned? Is it granted upfront or accrued? Is there any personal leave? In January 24, the paid leave, and goes on and on to state the statute, because I believe there's two options to do it, whether they accrue it ahead of time, or you pay it, or,
Typically, it's after, it's earned vacation time. So in other words, if you're eligible for, okay, like the union employees, if they're eligible for vacation time, it's after their first year that they get those days put into their bank. I would use the same standard here. I don't think somebody just gets hired on and you get these days right out of the box. It's after your first year, after a certain amount of time, whatever that time frame is, that you're granted those days.
I don't know if we specify that in there, because the
Yeah,
last I
think
saw.
That's what this says.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
I
because he
agree.
asked the question in that. We didn't
No,
specify.
That's not what this says. It gives them right up front, which caught my attention.
And is
As
that
an
what the,
employer, I
is
can
that what
tell
the
you.
state is
You can read them.
mandating?
You can, so my understanding is,
No, they are not mandating all those days up front. They're mandating a certain amount of hours for a certain amount of hours worked along the way. What is it, Becky? 8 hours for 40 hours worked, is that what it is? Or
no,
1
1 hour
hour
for
for
every
40.
1 hour for every 40 hours worked.
Mhm.
So that's the way you have to give it under the new state act that goes into effect January 1st. But not all this time up front.
so if we're past the, what was that position called? The discipline section, and we're putting that in there as is, I think we need to make a modification to section 10 to clarify that they're not paid upfront for it, it's after they've earned it. Because I don't think it specifies in there. The other thing is, I remember, Carl, our labor attorney, specifying about the maternity leave, that until we get something signed by the FOP and the IBEW, that we need to have something in here that specifically says it does not apply to members under collective bargaining. I thought that's what I remember talking about as well.
And do we need clarification, or?
The first part, I think if there needs to be a language or added in to clarify that, I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
that.
My thing is, I think we should either put that in there, but I mean, I know this relates to the other item, because obviously I'm not for how we're doing the MOP. My thing is, if this is going to be for non-union employees, there's really only 4 positions in the entire city that it even affects, right? It's the city clerk, the chief of police, the ambulance director, and now our office manager down at the police station. Those are the only 4, and none of them, it doesn't pertain to really any of them right now. So to me, I would rather remove this section until we figure out what's going on with the FOP and the IBW MOUs. That'd be my recommendation. But you could still pass it if you want, but I still think at a minimum you should put that line in there that says this does not apply to.
I think the whole goal,
What do you think?
I think we need to put the line in there about the part-time employees, but I think the maternity leave is something that we've disagreed on, Jason, from the beginning, and I think everybody at this council has been in favor of it, except for you, so I think I want to move forward with that.
Well, we
Yeah.
can talk, we'll talk
We-
about the next one. I'm not against maternity leave or paternity leave. The process of how we've gone about it is my concern. But, so what are you saying? You want to leave it in as is, or should we put a line in there at a minimum that says this is not for employees covered by a collective bargaining agreement?
I think the whole goal of this whole personnel policy was that it would be pertinent to everybody, because what's not specified in the collective bargaining agreement ultimately is gonna refer to this. If it's specified in the collective bargaining agreement, like I've said many times, that may as well be the Bible on the table. That is what they've agreed to, and that's what the city's agreed to. If it's not mentioned in there and it's not discussed, then that's where the city has a little bit of flexibility to create a personnel policy and address things that have not been negotiated or mentioned in a collective bargaining agreement. So I think if you're gonna offer maternity leave, let's say to one of the people that's a non-union member, I think ultimately our goal as a city is if we're trying to take care of our employees, we're gonna offer it the same way to those union members, and the formality is you need this memorandum of understanding. So I don't know that I would necessarily go that route. I'd say let's put it through. We go and we get the memorandum of understandings, and then it's done. They have it in their agreements, and I don't see any of them saying no.
Basically what it is they get 40 hours off for their pregnancy. And when their doctor deems that they can no longer work, they can go on light duty for a period of no longer than 60 days. As long as light duty exists within the department, which in my department, the police department, it certainly does. Exist.
What role would that exist in?
Clerical, mostly. Mike already has everything all lined up for our pregnant officer for her time that's gonna be off.
So we have 8 weeks of clerical duty.
Of stuff, that's my understanding, that he has stuff to keep her busy during that time frame.
I still think it should say something specifically that it does not apply to, until we get that approved. But
And Tony, to answer your question, on page 21, number 1, full-time employees shall be granted 40 hours of paid leave upon hire for use within their first year of employment, and which may be used for any purpose after 90 days of employment. So we can give them 40 hours right up front.
That's pretty nice. I wasn't granted that at my job, but that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Pat.
okay, so I know some of the areas that were contention was section 11. I think we've moved on. We're good with that section. Areas of section 10. Are we looking to make at least a verbal modification of that in the motion then to clarify that that it's only after they've earned the 40 hours to get the one, or however you want to word it?
Yeah, I think there needs to be language in there, and I think we could have either Pat or Carl add that in there to say that our part-time employees will get 1 hour of vacation leave per 40 hours worked.
That is in there, Terry. The section I read to you was about full-time employees. Down below, number 2, part-time.
So the part-time's good,
Shall earn 1 hour of paid leave for every 40 hours worked, which is what the new law makes.
which is
Well, that's in there.
consistent.
So there you go.
So what
After
is
they
he
work
referring
40
to?
hours, then the
Yeah, I
bank
was gonna
gets
say,
the hour.
What is he
and so-
referring to here then when he says, how is the vacation and sick earned? Is it granted upfront or accrued?
We get 1 hour for every 40 hours worked.
Well, what is he referring to then if we already refer to that? You feel confident that it's in there?
This could have been changed too, Jason. We've modified this thing, I don't know how many times. There's been so many different versions that have
You
gone
think that's
through.
been modified
Some of
since
these side notes have been corrected and then passed back through,
I
and
think it would be good if the council had a clean copy of this, so we all knew what you were.
we do have,
He does-
we
he
do
does
have
a
a clean
clean
copy
copy.
on there.
I don't have one, so I never got one. All I have is the one with all the notes and the margins all over it. But I don't get a copy of your board packet, Becky. I still don't get a copy of the board packet. It would be nice to have a copy of the board packet.
Are you using your iPad?
I tried today and I could not get it to boot up for some reason, so.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
honestly, that was the first time I ever tried and I had better things to do than play with an iPad, so.
Jacqueline would be happy to help you out with all that and get you squared away. It's,
Thank you.
Okay.
It's listed on there somewhere, Becky? Is there a site I have to go to, or does it just boot up with it?
In
Do you wanna-
In the Dropbox?
In the Dropbox? See,
The
I've never had
entire
the screen
packet is
boot up,
there.
So I don't even know what's in there.
Pat, I can help you out with that.
Okay.
It's-
Okay. So I do see that it's in
doable.
blue, so maybe this was added after those notes were made. So if we're good there, we're good there. So that means we're good. Because we were good with every section already beforehand. So we're good now with section 11. We're good with section 10. Now it's just the maternity leave. You want to leave it in there as is, or do you want to put something that'll apply to employees that are covered
I
by?
want to leave it just the way it is.
Okay.
That would be my motion to approve it the way that it's written up in number 13 on our agenda. Actually switched to number.
Second.
Hold on. Any other further questions on it? Anybody, any deliberations or anything? Any discussion?
I think this has gone on
Motion?
long enough.
Okay, we got a motion, and I believe we have a second. Roll call, please.
Baldridge?
Aye.
Udis?
Aye.
McDermott?
Aye.
Stefani?
Aye.
Kern?
No. All right. now the new number 13, FOP Memorandum of Understanding, Maternity Leave and Light Duty. Commissioner Hughes, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so we have to do this in order to make it legal for the union, for the FOP, to get them the same benefits. So with this, I'd like to make a motion that we send it to our labor attorney for review to make sure the language is consistent with their personnel policy and make sure he doesn't see any changes. And then once he clears it, I will bring it back up at the next meeting for approval.
I do appreciate that. Is there any discussions on this first? Because there's a couple items I'd like to talk about. I do appreciate, that was one of my concerns, that this has not been brought across to the labor attorney yet. So I had a whole bunch of stuff printed off, but I can't remember. I must have lost it here. I know I talked to Commissioner Stefanelli about this. I wanted to put out just a couple of facts first, and if anybody has anything wrong with my facts, I'm gonna try to remember them off the top of my head. So we had a city employee, I believe, approached a commissioner about this issue. And then the commissioner approached the council about the issue, about trying to create maternity leave. We've talked about it several times before here. You know, I think the offer was the same, where you wanted to have a week of maternity leave available for that.
Well, I think I started a little bit higher, and I think through negotiation
Okay.
with the council, we have basically halved it from how it started.
Yeah, Terry, you had started off with, I believe, 2 weeks and 90 days, and I know the mayor was at 0 across the board, and because he wanted to negotiate it, and I had said, well, the best thing would be to try to find common ground, and that's how we got to 1 week and 60 days, so that's,
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. That was originally 2 weeks and rolled down to 1. Then I believe the next thing, I really wish I had this print off in front of me here. I said I wasn't against the idea of maternity or paternity leave. I'd like to compare what we have to other cities nearby, because we're doing comparisons about pay raises and all that kind of stuff like that. I think I even quoted that I really liked what I heard about LaSalle. I've recently found out about Ottawa. I find that's something that we should look into. The point of this, though, is, you know, I have no problem, and this is where my opinion comes in. I have no problem with the idea of negotiating maternity leave or paternity leave for our employees. The problem with this is the union did not come to us about this. We're in the middle of a contract. I don't mind if we use an MOU. We've done several of them. If there's something that both sides of the union needs. In this case, there's nothing that the city gets out of this. We're gonna pay 40 hours of paid time off for them, and you're gonna create 8 weeks of light duty. In some of the other cities, like LaSalle, for example, they give 2 weeks of paternity leave, but they have no light duty. Everything else is covered via FMLA. I'm concerned that this is creating 9 weeks of paid labor for somebody, and as the city, we're supposed to be management side. You know what I mean? I want good things for these employees and stuff like that, though, but they need to come to the table and negotiate. That's my biggest issue with this. This is not how you do collective bargaining, right? There is things we're gonna want and get in the next union contract, and that's why I wanted to talk about this in closed session. There's things we're gonna want in the next contract. So you don't just open up the contract and start giving people things. That's my 2 cents. But I do appreciate that you wanna take it to the labor attorney so he can actually look at it for once. Anybody have any comments or
I
feedback?
feel
on
your
that?
comment that the city doesn't get anything out of it. I feel that that's incorrect. I feel that the city does get something out of it, get a quality employee who is looking to build her career here and continue to work here. If we were to go ahead and stop her from doing this, there's a pretty good chance she may just quit and move on to somewhere else. So the opinion that we're not getting anything from this, I think is
And I think for you to
invalid.
say that the union didn't come to us, they did come to us, Jason, with that concern. So
So I was wrong about that? That the
they,
employee?
they came to us with the concern that we were gonna lose an employee potentially over not having some sort of a benefit like other departments do.
Okay.
And you do that. We talked about that since day one.
Anything else? Any other feedback?
I have 2 quick comments. It clearly adds the extra 40 hours on top of your existing rate under FMLA. And the discrepancies in this, Terry, versus the personnel policy is in paragraph C, where it says a female pregnant employee shall be placed, whereas the personnel policy says a pregnant employee may be placed.
Okay.
So if you wanna suggest he make those changes, or you make
Yes.
those changes to this, I think then at least they jive.
Can you send me those in like an email, Matt, or Pat, of what you just,
Sure.
thank you.
That's a good catch. The other thing I have a concern with it down here is the last line of C says, light duty shall not exceed 60 calendar days and be at the sole discretion of the Commissioner of Oversight to extend on a case-by-case basis. So when you're doing, I just find that, well, you know how I felt about sole authority over anything from the previous one. So the reason I'm concerned about that is, so let's say uses that authority, you give somebody the maximum of 60 days, and then next employee that something like this happens with, you give 0 for whatever reason. I think it puts a situation to where they say, well, they had the authority to do this, they gave it to this one, why did they not give it to that one? And then you have a grievance possible situation. I don't like that language, so that's just my 2 cents on it.
So you can't make it any less. This doesn't say you can make it
I
less than
think that's
60
discretion,
days.
that's the definition of discretion. What applies to one may not necessarily apply to the next
If
one.
if it were 61 days instead of, you'd have the discretion to add that one day if for some circumstance it happened.
I just want to put my 2 cents out there. Either way, I'm good with this going in front of the labor attorney, because that was my last 2 cents of it, is that we have it, and it's actually already signed by the FOP, steward, and field rep. And it hasn't even been in front of our labor attorney yet. So if we want to send it to the labor attorney, I'm 100% on board with that.
Is the personnel policy already in their contract or not?
That's it. The personnel policy doesn't have anything to do with their
Yeah.
contract.
That's a local document. We've already had one, we just added a whole bunch of new sections to it that didn't have things that covered stuff. Okay, any other discussion on this? So you're looking to
No,
make a motion to send
Make a
it
motion,
to-
we send it to the labor attorney.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. All right, number 14, old business. First item is City Hall renovations. I think Commissioner Baldridge had this for action and was looking at a lot of different options. Would you like to speak to it?
I really have nothing else to say about it. I did ask for suggestions and opinions, which I received a lot of. I took those into consideration, and I still have the idea that after we just asked in our last meeting to raise the taxes on the taxpayers, I don't feel that we should be putting up walls, adding extensions, building the desks out with some prefab parts from Greg and extending a wall over there. I don't see that happening. Tonight, I'd just like to ask for a vote of support to authorize renovation and replace the office currently being utilized by the mayor and utilize that office as an ADA accessible, multi-use conference room and office for executive session.
I haven't heard back from some of the feedback that was given to you. There was 2 new
Was
suggestions.
there ever?
There was 2 new suggestions. One was for extending the clerk's office to where, because that would solve some of the issues that we have there with extending the clerk's office back there. And if that's not a viable one, the new one was to extend out to where the vestibule door is, and then you put the mayor's office in the tiny back corner there, and then you make the new section, the longer section, the new conference room. Have you had any consideration or thoughts on
I
that?
took all those ideas and suggestions into consideration. I also took into consideration what a constituent said last meeting, that there are available offices in the basement that we could all utilize. At that point, I do believe that it's more accessible for everyone to utilize that soundproof room there, and it's ADA accessible. So again, I'd like to ask for the vote of support.
Okay. Well, my thoughts are, I think it's a terrible idea that you're creating an ADA conference room that is not used daily, but you are
It will
going
be.
to, but you're going to move an office that is used daily to a non-ADA location. To me, I don't see where you gain the benefit over the other there, but that's my 2 cents. Any other discussion on that?
When we had the renewal with the insurance folks, we had to sit where Commissioner Udis and Becky are sitting right now, and I mean, just to put it into perspective, from my standpoint, I felt that it was there was no sense of privacy. I mean, there was no sense of where people are just walking through. So, I mean, I do see a need for this kind of a conference room, and it's nice if all of us are gonna be able to use it. I mean, I just think it's embarrassing. We're going to talk about renewing our insurance policy, which is a significant number, which is evidenced in tonight's bills, and we're sitting here talking about it. So I don't think this has anything to do with displacing somebody. I think it's just that there's a need for it. I can tell you because if I have the clerk's office and that's my area oversight, there's enough traffic that goes in and out of there on a daily basis. You know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, that we don't need any more traffic through there. Otherwise, those girls are not gonna be as productive as they possibly can. I mean, I don't mind people going in and out of there because that's fine. A lot of business gets done there, but, you know, the more traffic you have going through there, the less attentive that they're gonna be able to be in what it is that they're doing. That's my perspective, that's my 2 cents on this matter.
So with that, with the clerks, I do agree with you on that. You know, we don't wanna keep having, traffic in there. One of the last suggestions, matter of fact, it was, Mac's idea actually that I did the sketch for, was that the clerk's office wall would be removed and that would be the extension into the next conference room, and then her office would be on the side of that. So then your entrance into that conference room, people would not have to go through the clerk's office, they would actually just come through that little edge right over on that side there. So that, to me, is why I thought that was the best solution for all those issues.
I mean, if we're taking that into consideration, why don't we just remove the entire wall and open this whole place up? Put some more offices up here, we'll forget about the 3 that are downstairs not being utilized. I mean,
Well, so
we're gonna
the
be
other-
doing all this remodeling in that
The
area.
other thing
and
that
I-
we talked about is with, we had that meeting, and stuff like that. In the past, we have used the basement conference room for meetings for stuff like that. I understand it might not be the best situation for everybody, if you have people that are 80, you know, can't get down there very easily. If the meetings are small enough, I know we've used the mayor's office. Before I was even the mayor, I asked, Mayor Rivera if there's times he wasn't in the office to be able to use his for something like that. It works well if you have 3 or 4 people. If you have more than that, that's where it becomes problematic. And as I said, I didn't get a chance to say this at the last meeting, but the most important meeting we ever had during the last administration was actually held down at the Dickinson House. It was about 2 or 3, did I talk about this? Maybe I did. I can't remember.
Send it an email.
Okay, so during that time, it was about 3 months after COVID hit pretty hard. And we were gonna make the determination if we were gonna expand GTI. There was a lot of contention for that. So how are you gonna get an in-person meeting when COVID's at its height? So we went down to the Dickinson House, we separated 13 people at each one of the tables there, and we had probably the most important meeting that had a massive renovation project. So if you do have special meetings that need privacy, the Dickinson House does remain a good option for things like that. So, but that's my 2 cents, that's my piece.
The other thing that I'd like to offer up here is that if you look at our municipal code and Department of Public Property, I actually, when this had all started, I wanted to try and get an understanding of who's supposed to make a decision on this. And it says that the Commissioner of the Department of Public Property shall have charge of and supervision over the city parks, all playgrounds, pleasure grounds, the city hall building, municipal pool, all plants, trees, and shrubbery contained on any public property, and all officers, which would be us, the elected folks, and employees' use therein. So, I mean, to me, that's pretty clear that it's Commissioner Baldrich's decision to do this. I do admire the fact that, just like how I did with these iPads, he's coming before the council to at least say, okay, here's what my intention is, or here's what I'm thinking about. But I think that's something else that we should take into consideration, is that it says explicitly there that it's his decision,
And I'm
so.
sure Rich has, looked everything over. You got the best for everybody, I would hope.
And I admire the fact that he's trying to save cost, because I do agree with him after, you have to go and raise the levy like that on our part. I mean, boy, does that not taste well for the average taxpayer, that now you're gonna go start spending money, putting 2x4s and drywall and everything else and start doing all these things. I've said from the beginning, a renovation of City Hall is definitely something that shows city pride. But when we do it is obviously gonna be a factor too, because we had to ask for more money. So I do think that we should do it. I just think we have to be mindful of when we're doing it. And right now, I do agree is not the time to go through the large scale renovation. So
Do what you need.
do what you need to do, yeah.
Keep it
Well,
simple.
in that same argument, though, I don't, because we ordered the purchase of flooring, but we didn't even decide where the layout was gonna be. So I don't know if we needed it necessarily by purchase of flooring. I think, to me, the walls and the construction of how we're gonna operate is more important than what the flooring looks like.
Wow,
And
Jason,
that's
that-
why I had charge of the project. You don't understand what was going on
Okay.
because there was really nothing going on at that point. And again, there's no walls or anything being fabricated here. We are going to do exactly what I've said the last 3 meetings. The flooring is where the flooring's going on the floor. That's where the flooring will be. I don't know how else to explain that.
Okay. All right, well, I've said my piece on it. I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen. Anybody else have any feedback or discussion on this item?
No, I think, I've said my piece as well, so.
All right, well, either we have a recommendation for what we want to look into, or do you have a recommendation of a motion of what you'd like to do?
Again, I would like to ask for a vote of support to authorize renovation and replacement of the office currently being utilized by the mayor, and utilize that office as an ADA accessible multi-use conference room and office for executive session.
I'll second.
Okay. Was that really a motion, or was it a?
I mean, I don't,
There's a vote of
again,
support. Kinda like a motion, I
I
think.
mean, it's,
I don't know
Vote of
how-
confidence.
I guess it's
Okay.
a voice of support, but
Voice of
like I said,
support and
according to the
confidence.
municipal code, unless he goes over $20,000, he doesn't even need to
Yeah.
go through this exercise.
He's just being transparent.
Okay, I kind of hear a motion in a second, so roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Curran.
No. Okay, next on the item is, under old business, is agenda. The reason we have this back under here is a month ago, we talked about it, but I think there was some confusion on the motion that was made. My understanding was that the motion was made to add attribution items to the future agenda in ordinance 2.03.130D to look similar to how Ottawa does theirs. That's how I remember it. Since then, we've talked about it. I think some people remember it a little differently. I know Commissioner Stefanelli and I talked about today. I do like how Ottawa's agenda looks. However, I've now watched a couple of their meetings, and they're very different than how we do things. So I like their agenda. I think their method of how they go about conducting their meetings is very different. I'd rather keep it the same format we have here. What feedback does people have on that?
Sure, I'm the one who asked to have this placed on there because at the November 20th meeting, at the 51 minutes mark is when we went through the exercise and the motion of approving all this, and it was unanimous. It wasn't that there was, 4-1 or anything like, or 3-2, anything like that. So all I'm asking for is the way our current agenda is laid out, just put the person's name next to it, and if we're gonna follow Robert's Rules of Order, if Commissioner McDermott asked to put something on the agenda, out of courtesy, he would be the first one to talk about his agenda item, just like he did with the dump truck. And then we go around, everybody gets a chance to have their turn and to say whatever it is they wanna say about it, and then if there's action to be had, we take action. So I think I would suggest to the council that that's the best way to go about it, put the name next to it. If multiple people are asking for the same thing, well, then you'll have everybody's name next to it, and obviously one can see, okay, this is something that everybody wanted to talk about.
Well, if it gets to multiple guys, you could just put their
Council,
initials.
yeah, all council members or however, but I do think before we restructure how our current agenda is, all you're doing is putting somebody's name next to it. And I know that the suggestion was that I want my name next to all these items. That's not necessarily the case. There's things that come out of my office that are a given, like approving the bills and approving the payroll. Does it make a difference to me if my name is next to it? No, it doesn't. But if it's something that I know that I want to talk about, boy, I'd like the courtesy of being the first person to say, this is why I put this on the agenda, this is what I'm asking, or this is what I'm looking for, and then we go around and do it the way we normally should.
And it is in Robert's rule that way too.
It is, and like I said, this is November 20th, it's almost a month ago that we approved it,
We
and
gotta
this
get
has been
over
2
this
meetings that the
agenda,
names
that's
haven't
for
been
sure.
next to it, so I'm just wondering what it is that we need to do at this point
So,
to get this clarified and worked out.
well, I can appreciate it. I do find that as a simplistic approach and answer to it, but my point was, I don't think that's what we motioned for, because we specifically talked about.
I believe it was. I was the one that asked for it.
And then we talked about adding
Do you want me to
2.0.
put the 2 different ones up
Yeah.
there so we can, or
Oh, to look at
Go ahead.
the 2 different versions?
Sure.
How-
Or do you have, okay, yeah.
I have them both. Okay. Just a second.
A lot of buildup.
I need glasses.
A lot of things on the Wi-Fi at the same time. All right, we'll come back to that. Anyways,
All I was asking for when I originally asked to have that placed on the agenda was that we put whoever's name that asked to have it on the agenda, place their name next to the item. I don't know how we got off subject on it that night, but that was what I asked for, and that was what we had agreed to, in my opinion.
And I thought we,
And there was something else that you had asked.
Here
I
we
know.
go. Okay, so this is currently our agenda now, right? This is the structure and the format of it. This is tonight's agenda.
Correct.
Let me go back, and I'm gonna go back to the original one here.
you have autos as well to show up?
I do. That's where we're going to. Okay. So now if you notice, what Becky did was she put the names next to each item. Okay, that's what I would like to see this. This is just my I'm not telling anybody on the council what they should or shouldn't do. This is just what I'm saying I'm personally in support of. It's our existing agenda with the names next to it. The other format, which you said that you had liked, was this. And the only thing with this is I just think that there may be times where you may need to change something back and forth, and then we'd be flipping back and forth from commissioner to commissioner or mayor to commissioner. So I can have an appreciation for both of them, but I think this one,
I just really like that because it subdivides the different departmental type action items that you need and stuff like that. I think it looks clean. You actually have Ottawa's actual one. Theirs it looks really sharp.
Mhm.
Looks really sharp. I'll be honest, I really don't care.
these were the two things in the packet, so
Okay.
that's why
I really don't care either way. My point is, I thought this is what we made the motion for, is my point was.
so do we wanna clarify and just get it
I
over
think-
with?
I think we should clarify then. What does everybody
I
want?
was confused as to what you decided to do that night, when I went back and looked at my notes, so.
I
maybe
mean,
that
Well-
falls with me, but
it's fine,
Becky and
I
I
just,
talked about it, and we thought that whatever you wanted to do, maybe we didn't need to change the code to accomplish it, but.
I don't think
just
you
try
need
it for a
to.
while and see if
Right.
it works, and if you don't like it, then you can make adjustments. And
I
that's
don't know
all
about
other
anybody
council
else,
would
but I'm in
do.
favor of the, last names on the back, so you know
Okay.
who's asking for what.
I am as well.
Sorry, Pat, I
Okay.
didn't mean to cut you off.
Commissioner, you have anything?
I like this one here, where it's not necessarily one commissioner talking about everything all at once and having to speak for 45 minutes, where you get to kind of mix it up a little bit and catch your breath and come back to something else.
I think the other one entices you to have to place something on file or on the
Right.
agenda, just to put something on there because there's nothing under your name. So if you had nothing to say for 3 or 4 meetings, then you kind of feel obligated to say something at some point,
Yeah.
where mine's always blank. So I think this here isn't as noticeable that you haven't spoken about anything. You shouldn't be forced to have to speak about anything, in my opinion.
Okay. All right, so I think we have a majority that want to do that. Do you want to make a motion to,
I make a motion that we approve this here format as how the agenda should show up, with the understanding that whoever places something on there with their name next to it gets the courtesy in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order to be the first one to present and speak about it, and then everybody else goes around to get their chance to speak.
I'll
that's a
second
very
that
long
motion.
motion. Does everybody understand that motion?
Oh, yeah, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call,
Let's get
please.
this agenda done and over with.
Baldridge,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye?
Stefani,
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Number 15, new business. I don't believe we have any listed items. Number 16, public comments over any topic.
Commissioner Stefanelli, at the beginning of the meeting, talked about Robert's Rules of Order and pulled something up on the screen there. The dictation off of that almost sounded like the agenda could be the minutes of the meeting with how you all voted on something. It sounded that simplistic, and I don't think that's what the minutes are for. It's so that 10 years from now, we can see why something happened that you all voted 4 ayes and 1 nay for. It sounds like one of the major actions tonight is the mayor's getting kicked out of his office over there, kind of. I have a somewhat, another solution. A number of meeting halls, folks set up little lockers. They're almost like this, half of this size, kitchen cabinets with locked doors. Then each one of you, if you have to have a meeting then you could open up your little locker and pull out your stuff that makes you feel comfortable that it's kind of your office. Since it's going to be a multi-purpose conference room, then maybe you could put some kitchen cabinets at the end with locks so that some of that kind of stuff that is in an office can come out for a little multifunctional board meeting. Now, this city, I've found out, we're a $69 million city corporate limits municipality. I don't know how we're doing to some of the other communities of our population size. I'm gonna try to track that down yet too. I think we could spend some money to have the mayor have an office. And, okay, so the next thing, I'm within 2 months, this council, I almost wanted to have a recall election, but who would take your jobs? Nobody wants to be a politician anymore because of the angst that being a politician is. So, the fact that it's came out tonight that it seems like you all think you can fire one of our city employees all by yourself with seemingly the only stopgap to that is if they're supported by a union, then I just, early on the very first day, I thought the mayor mentioned that he would be a second voice in the room of this trying to hash out whether an employee needs to be discharged or not. I can't believe that it's there. And it seems like you all have made the mayor absolutely a pointless seat in this council. I don't think he does anything except bangs a gavel. So none of yous got elected to the seats you're sitting in. You all decided that, well, you best here, you're best here, you're best here, and we get no say so who you might discharge, who's been working for the city for 25 years?
Thank you. Any other public comments on any topic?
Oh,
Thanks,
one more
Greg.
thing, two more things.
Is this time
Well,
or is he tired?
Let-
Hey, two more things, 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
You said gavel.
You technically get, well, yeah, there you go, that's the one thing
This
I
is
do,
where you
right?
gotta use that gavel.
You get 5 minutes, but since you sat down, please let the other gentleman speak. I'll give you another 2 minutes. Please, go ahead.
Well, I'm here about safety again. And the first one is, I love what we have here in Oglesby, thanks to people like Woody and thanks to people like Rich. And they've created a downtown that people want to come to. But we have a certain individual that's banned from all these bars except for one. And a few weeks ago, this idiot was stupid enough to punch me in the shoulder. And since I contacted the owner and I told him, if it ever happens again, I'm going to end him. And this person is a schizophrenic. He shouldn't be allowed into our businesses where he could hurt somebody. Now, if you think that that's okay, then good. I hope you get sued, and I hope you lose every damn thing you own. Now, the other one. Today I'm leaving, and I go down 2nd Street, and here I look, and, you know, here's this idiot in a truck playing with his phone, and the other idiot is on a tracked vehicle using a power brush, which is wrong for the job, and there's nobody flagging. So I pull my car right up to his, put my flashers on, I get out, I go, where's your flashers? Or not flashers. Where's your flaggers? No flaggers. You got people going up and down this road, and it's like, if you people don't want to do it, well, let's call OSHA and get OSHA that only approve people that are going to come here and work safely. Because, like I said, he used the wrong damn thing. He was using a tracked vehicle, and they moved the vehicle. And if you can tell, all that mud that's on Columbia is from these idiots. And we shouldn't allow it. We shouldn't allow it. We got enough people that are retired in this town. I'll do it for you. Check the credentials of these idiots and make sure they're doing it safely. And if you don't, you're looking for your own lawsuit because somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to be doing this with the phone and bam. And then what are you going to do? Because I've been here about safety many, many times and you guys won't do anything. It's like you go by this man who he can hire all of his buddies. Where's the credentials? Where's the flag or certification? You know, who's checking to see that these guys are current with all their safety stuff? Anybody? I'll do it. I'll do it for nothing because I want our town to be safe. And as far as that individual that's going up and down the street and, you know, traumatizing people at their businesses, that's BS. He's got to either stay away or do something with him because you're taking a chance.
Right.
And it's kind of dumb.
Thank you. Got a little bit of time left. Go ahead.
Okay, two things on the bills to be paid tonight that you might cover it in your commissioner reports, but I want to maybe help you talk about it. The Chamlins and the water treatment plant is got another $133,000 of a bills paid tonight. I'm wondering how that project is coming along, what that kind of stuff is doing besides clear cutting all that land down there. And then there's a risk program administrator cyber liability bill that I don't think I've ever seen that before. For $10,357. It is. I know we lost our internet in here. I hope we didn't have have to pay a ransom to anybody, and that I still haven't found out what happened to iFiber with the college over in Ottawa and here, whether or not somebody cut a line or it was a cyber attack. I'd like to hear what that was about. That was it.
What was the $10,000 bill you mentioned?
It's under R for risk program administrators.
Risk program administrators,
Cyber liability,
That's the liability.
10 grand,
Insurance.
357.
Yeah, that's our
Insurance.
insurance stuff.
Insurance,
There you go.
So you don't get ransomware and stuff like that, or if something like
or
that
if something
does
does happen,
you're insured.
we're insured.
Mm-hmm.
Did something happen?
No.
No, it's the keeper.
No.
Greg, just for clarification there, on page 446 of Robert's Rules, section 48, you can go ahead and read for yourself the minutes and reports of officers. It details the explanation as to what should be included in the minutes, so that's not just us making up things.
Well,
That's
okay.
happened a couple times where we've been accused of stuff, and it's not true because it's written here. These are the rules that we've all agreed to follow.
And us public, we get to vote yous away if we don't like what
So
you
be
do,
it.
but that we have to wait 4 years to do that. Or sometimes we have recall elections.
Sometimes people walk away too, Greg.
That's true.
Yeah,
I've
and
been
you have
thinking
5
about
guys
that.
running for 4 positions, so what does that say?
I do remember Tony walking out in about 5 minutes into the meeting. Not you, Tony.
Torres.
Tony Torres. Yes,
Okay.
I remember that one.
Do you have anything else? Okay, thank you. Any other comments on any, please, go ahead.
Hi, Rich Grady. I just have a couple things on Surf Internet, so I don't know who's gonna answer it or whoever wants to. On Dale Avenue right here, nobody can get Surf Internet. And I shouldn't say nobody, but the first 2 blocks can't get Surf Internet. So the technician showed up and he said that the infrastructure is not placed there yet. So he said whatever's in this box right here, which I have no clue what's in there, is not in there.
On Dale Avenue?
Correct.
Yeah, we need to look at that.
Didn't the very first,
Correct.
I was gonna say, we did the first person that had multi-gig internet in the entire city and the entire region was on Dale Avenue even, so, so you're saying, so what, block 1 and 2 can't get it? Is it too close to the, I wanna say he was on the second block.
They just said the infrastructure's not in that box that's sitting right here.
They were placing infrastructure the whole time, so I don't see why they shouldn't get it to you guys.
I don't know.
That was their promise to us, is that everybody
Yeah,
would.
everybody.
So you said, what is it?
So
It's
then, well, the one
First
person
two
was
blocks.
supposed to get it, I'm not sure on the date, like a week ago or 10 days ago. And they said, yes, can't get it because the infrastructure's not there.
so block,
So then they rescheduled for last Thursday, and they still can't get it.
so just to you're saying block 1 and 2 of Dale can't get surf internet?
Correct.
I could have swore that was the 200 block of Dale that has.
We
that
need
house
to
that has
get
it.
on the horn
Well,
with them and
yeah.
tell them to make good on
So,
what they're supposed
I-
to be making good
Let
on.
me just ask you, were you gonna cover any of that stuff that we talked about with, so there might be an update. We've had some, recent people that had some complaints in, and we've reached out to them, and we have some information to probably put out for surf internet. I didn't know anything about block 1 and 2 not having something. I think Rich is probably gonna report on something that's slightly different though, but that's definitely something we can look into,
Okay.
so.
And then the other thing, the orange conduit that they ran
That's,
it in, okay? There's a lot of the orange conduit that is not covered, which is covered with black tape, which is wrapped around the telephone pole. So on,
we do have an update for that.
on First Street, Third Street, School Street, Clark Street, Kenosha Avenue, and the one actually on School Street by the school, is that the black tape has gone away because, of course, it's been there for so long, and now the conduit's hanging down. So I think that's a concern also.
We do have an update on that one for you.
Okay. And then my other thing is, I don't know, you guys were commissioners yet, but you were trying to get rid of the old electrical truck. And now it's sitting behind the old fire department, so I'm just wondering how long that's gonna sit.
I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, I think it was 2 meetings ago. We made a motion to, put it up for public auction with a reserve price of $5,500.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions. Any other public comments over any topic?
Okay. You gotta check in on that Dale Street.
I'd like to thank the council for all their hard work tonight. You accomplished a lot. You moved the mayor out of his office. So I don't know, maybe he's gonna have something in the back. You also sent a message to everybody that's fed out of the Malik substation west of Oglesby. You're hanging on by a thread out there, by a Band-Aid, and you're gonna renovate City Hall rather than make that right. I do have one other question. I noticed that there's a trailer up at the Four Corners. What's the holdup in providing service so somebody can open a business?
There's been a lot of, they did have a meeting here for, at the Plan Commission. There were some new things that came up of it. We, just to give you a heads up, we did have a meeting with the owner today, to see some things that we can work through, and there is some stuff that's gonna be worked through. I think, even Commissioner Stefanelli and I had a good meeting with her, talking about some of the things that we need to do to make sure the plans can move forward and keep progressing.
And
she
Commissioner
can
McDermott, don't
open
leave
the
them out.
service?
And we didn't violate OMA.
Yep.
Commissioner Stefanelli was there for the first half, he departed, and then Commissioner McDermott came in and finished the rest of the conversation. So, it is progressing, I will tell you that, sir.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Any other,
And Jason, just to correct, it has not been before the plan commission, because.
oh, I have the wrong one?
Rich sits on that commission.
Wrong one, sorry,
It-
wrong
it-
one.
It was before the facade committee, maybe back,
I-
is that,
Design review.
Design
board.
review.
design review?
I apologize. Thank you for that correction.
No problem.
Okay. All right, if there's no other public comments, number 17, Commissioner reports. Commissioner Stefanelli.
All right, thank you. I'd like to take a moment here to share my thoughts about the passing of Mayor Jerry Scott. Mayor Scott served the city of Oglesby from 1983 to 1995, and then again from 1999 to 2007. Anybody that has sat at this table realizes the great responsibility and sacrifice that being an elected person requires. Whether a person agreed with Mayor Scott or not, one cannot deny his great contribution and service to our city. We owe a debt of gratitude to Mayor Scott for his sacrifice and the time and effort that he gave of himself for the city of Oglesby. I want to especially recognize Mayor Scott's family. As he gave of himself for the city, it obviously took time away from his family. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Joe, Donna, and the rest of the family. I thank them for giving of themselves during their father's service to our city. I ask that we keep Mayor Scott and his family in our prayers. I would like to take a, and that's all I have to say about that. I just think we should keep them in our prayers, and nobody, whether you agreed with him or didn't agree with him, he did perform a great service to our city. I want to thank Erin in the clerk's office for her dedicated help in planning and for setting up our city events. She does an excellent job, and I'm glad that she's on our team. I'll be providing the council with a year-end report of accounts and finance in the near future, and I want to wish all the residents and businesses a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Udis.
I don't have anything at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner McDermott.
Well, I'd like to give my condolences to Mayor Scott's family. Wish him the best of luck. He served the city of Oglesby well. I don't have anything else other than I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that's it.
Thank you much. Commissioner Baldridge.
I'd also like to offer my sympathy to the Scott family. The dog park is currently closed. In light of recent cases of canine infection respiratory disease in our area, we have closed our dog parks as a precaution until further notice. We would like to remind all pet owners of the utmost importance of cleaning up after their pets in all dog parks, local parks, and their own yards. We urge all pet owners to be considerate of others by properly disposing of their pets' waste and being up to date on all vaccines. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we strive to create a safer environment for animals in our community. I'd like to thank the We Are Oglesby organization for inviting the city council, as well as the electrical and parks departments, to participate in the parade. It seemed to be another great success and enjoyed by so many. It's nice to see a volunteer organization put together something that so many people now look forward to and enjoy tremendously. We hope your organization is able to continue this new tradition for years to come. Thank you, We Are Oglesby. Special thanks to the 19 businesses and organizations that joined in to make the whole experience so much more fun for everyone. The brief power outage on 12/11 was caused by a faulty connector at Dale Avenue. Dale Avenue from Walnut to 3rd Street is going to be part of an upgrade reconductoring project, hopefully sometime next year, time permitting. The lighting contest has produced some very good-looking decorations to view. The winner will be announced December 23rd. Good luck to all the participants, and thank you for helping spread the Christmas spirit. We're aware of the complaints in regards to Surf Internet project. Some spots still look terrible, and we aren't happy about it either. The electrical department contacted Surf Internet yet again, and they said they are running approximately 4 weeks behind on their Ottawa project. They thought they could get back to Oglesby in December to finish and clean up the fiber internet project. We understand your frustrations and ask for patience from everyone in the meantime. Thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you much.
Jump in for a second.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to thank everybody who donated to Shop with the Cop for all of our needy children. So thank you very much.
Great. No, it was a good report. Appreciate that. Mayor's report. I'll start off with, that is news to me about the block 1 and 2 on Dale Avenue. We'll look into that. I think that's the first I've heard that, so. Okay. Well, I'm kind of curious now who can't. I mean, the goal was that everybody would be able to have access, and my understanding now is that they've reached everywhere. And so there must be something that's kind of interesting with that, because as I said, we even did like a ribbon cutting for the first person to have the 2 gig fiber, and they were on Dale Avenue. So that's why I'll have to find out if there's any areas that hasn't been looked into yet. So, okay, so with my report, first thing I want to talk about is some good news. 16 January, the Oglesby Medical Clinic is scheduled to open under OSF. So I know it's been closed for a little while now. That's kind of going to be the start of getting these things back open. I know next year we're looking to get obviously the hospitals back open. Again, I think I've mentioned this before. It's going to be a slow process. It's going to be a slow process. I think the ERs are going to open, and the limited services are planning on coming back. Big thing is I want to give a huge thank you to We Are Oglesby for the parade. The amount of effort that has to go in, I mean, last year was amazing to be able to do it, to kick something off like that, and then this year to do it again. all the volunteers, all the people that decided to participate. I don't think people realize just how much work and effort has to go into an all-volunteer organization trying to put something like together. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate when you have organizations like this putting things together that ends up being major events for the city. So the only thing else I got is I kind of want to do a year in review about a couple items here. We had a couple negatives happen, Delaney's and then turned into Cindy's. We lost due to a fire this year. A staple in the city is no longer here. We lost the hospital and for the region and the local clinic. Some of the positives, we have a new business, Blue Margaritas. We have the hair studio is open. We now have fiber optic internet for residents, well, most residents hopefully, residents and businesses as new opportunities in town. We started the disc golf course last year. It's finally been open. Hopefully that's gonna bring new opportunities. The dog park, we were able to come to a decision on where to put it, kind of the design, and even got it up and running. It's actually, well, it'll be open again hopefully soon when we solve the dog flu epidemic. And then again, We Are Oglesby. Not only is the city expanded on some different events that we have, but We Are Oglesby also had another event they added. They added the movie night, for example, which was fantastic. I hope that they're going to continue that tradition along with some other ones. On the horizon, so that's just what we've had in this year. On the horizon, we have Bon Voyage, which is going to be redoing the old Dogman's building. That's getting kind of a facelift and an update on that. Jorge's Waffle House will be coming. Fun Fest continues to grow each year. We have more activities planned and more opportunities there. And I certainly hope We Are Oglesby is not only going to continue those other options, but maybe even expand upon the different things out there to create opportunities. And then, as I said before, the medical clinic is coming. And then on the far side of everything, I know we've briefly talked about it, IDNR and the Matheson Annex project. I might have some information soon on that. Things are looking like they're progressing. Again, this is nothing that's probably going to be open in the next year, but this is many years from now. But again, the point is, there's a lot of little things going on in town, and I know we have our differences here, and we have differences of opinions of how we think we're going to get that. I mean, it's one of the problems when you have very opinionated people with strong wills. They all think theirs is the best method to get something done. But I will tell you, I know that everybody up here is very interested in making sure that the city of Oglesby benefits from everything. So I look forward to what the next year is going to come. And with that, I would wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I would, before we adjourn, I do have two items I would like to talk about in closed session. One of them falls under the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee or legal counsel for the public body. And the other one is collective negotiating matters or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for those? I sent you an email on what the subjects were about. No interest for executive session? Okay, then we'll go from there. In that case, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye.